morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to talk about a new Tyranitar deck. Yeah, that's right. Tyranitar's doing pretty gosh darn good, and I want to tell you all about it. Usual reminder here, with the new YouTube algorithm, likes and comments are so much more important than they were in the past, so please drop likes and comments. I would really appreciate it. So Tyranitar then, essentially, this is the bad Tyranitar. The Tyranitar that isn't actually very good, that wasn't designed to be very good. And yet someone's gone and made a deck out of it. And I'll be honest with you, it's kind of genius. Because it doesn't play any basic darkness energy. It plays basic psychic. Now this is the Bangiras from Prismatic Evolutions. This was from the Generations decks over in Japan. It was not designed to be a particularly good card. It was meant as kind of a filler in a little celebration set. These EXs that came around in Generations really were not intended to be big powerhouse cards. That wasn't the point. They were supposed to be, well, let's give 2 EXs from each generation, it will be fine. But it's kind of a promo deck kind of thing, so let's not worry too much about making them good, let's just make them cool. Hence why Pokemon like Tyranitar actually come in here. Also, if you don't get the Bangiras reference, go and find the advert for these decks, the Japanese advert. It's phenomenal, and then you'll get it. So what does this Tyranitar, this Bangiras, actually do? Well, what we've got is an attack which we technically can use, but we're not really going to. Free energy, 150, discard a random card from your opponent's hand. And then we've got the attack we're actually going to use here, which is single energy, 50 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon. And you've got 340 HP, which pre-Megas is the highest natural HP any Pokemon has. So the theory here is quite simple. You got a giant Pokemon, put a bunch of energy on there, do absurd damage, profit. That's the goal here. That's how this is going to work. Awesome. So what have we got in terms of support? We've got Xatu. Xatu here is where we're going, and incidentally, this is why we get away with playing basic psychic energy. Because what Xatu does is, once during your turn, attach a basic psychic energy from your hand to a bench Pokemon and draw 2 cards. And this does 2 things. Number 1, it gets energy onto the board. That's a good thing. And number 2, it draws cards. And if you're playing a stage 2 deck, you kind of want to be drawing as many cards as you can, as fast as you can, to get your stage 2 up and rolling. This does both of those things wonderfully. And that's why we go Psychic Energy. That first attack on Tyranitar doesn't need any particular kind of energy. Any kind of energy will do. So load Tyranitar up with Psychic Energy, and off you go. And if this works, I'm telling you, this is kind of awesome. Because again, the goal here is very simple. Giant Pokemon, hit for big damage, and with Xatu both accelerating energy and drawing cards, you can see how this would work. But we actually have another Pokemon here that does a very similar thing. It's Pheasantipity. Now, to be fair, we are playing Pheasantipity EX, the one that draws cards if you had a Pokemon KO'd last turn. Obviously, we're playing that like every deck is playing that. But no, we are playing the other Pheasantipity here, the one from Twilight Masquerade, the single prize psychic one. Because what this one does is 30 damage for each energy attached to it. It is a smaller, weaker version of Tyranitar, but it does the same thing. This one does need 1 psychic energy on there to actually activate the attack, but again, we're playing psychic energy, so you're fine. But the other thing Pheasantipity has with us here is if you've got a darkness energy attached to it, and it would be damaged by an attack, flip a coin if heads, prevent that damage. This can buy you brilliant time. And certainly in the early game, before you've got your Tyranitar up and rolling, this is actually a great way to potentially buy yourself a turn or two. And the great thing about this is, it is if this Pokemon would be damaged by an attack, so your opponent has to gust something off the bench. Whatever they attack with has to go through the heads flip on Fezandipiti, and that of course can force them to use their gusting early game if they've even got it, which they obviously might not. Really fun card here. By the way, I should mention we're playing one copy of Luminous Energy in this deck. It will pay the attack cost for Tyranitar for the second attack. It will provide the Darkness Energy for Fezandipiti here. And remember, with Fezandipiti, what you can do is have Luminous Energy as your attachment for the turn, and then use Xatu to attach a Psychic Energy, and oh look how that worked out. And don't get me wrong, like if you can get a bunch of energy onto Fezandipiti and make it a good attacker, brilliant. But really what Fezandipiti's doing a lot of the time is just poking away, getting a bit of damage on the board, while giving your opponent only a 50% chance of their attack actually working. Now, the other Pokemon we've got here, which I kind of love, is Iron Thorns, because, well, it is Tyranitar. It's future Tyranitar, Paradox Tyranitar, but it's also not Tyranitar. It's a basic Pokemon. It's not in the same evolution line, but the fact that it's in here thematically makes me very, very happy. Remember, this is the one that won Worlds last year. Initialization says that Pokemon with a rule box in play have no abilities, as long as it's active. And again, you've got 2 energy that are colorless, so you can use Xatu to get that rolling. Attach your Luminous Energy as the lightning, and you can actually attack with it. And essentially, this is just a tech against decks that really rely on rule box Pokemon abilities. You can switch to use this. You're only playing 2 copies of it. And then even then, you're only playing 1 Luminous Energy, so don't get too excited. But it can make a bit of a difference. The other Pokemon we're playing here is Pecharunt EX. You're not playing enough energy to actually attack with this, not the right kind of energy, but essentially this is just to let you switch it in and out. Because of course Tyranitar is a darkness type, it can switch in with Pecharunt. Now we need to go on to energy next, because I've told you we're mostly playing Psychic, I've told you we're playing 1 Luminous Energy, but we're playing 4 Ignition Energy, that new energy that came around in Black Bolt and White Flare. And this is one of the things that has made this deck way more fun. Because what we've got of Ignition Energy is, when you attach it to an evolution Pokemon, it's free colorless energy, and it falls off at the end of your turn, don't get me wrong, but while it's there, it's free energy. And go back to the wording of Tyranitar here, because this is very, very important. Tyranitar says 50 damage for each energy. It doesn't say energy card, it says energy. So this will be 150 damage. In addition to the energy you're accelerating with Xatu, and in addition to anything else you may have got there in previous turns. And that is why Tyranitar kinda works nowadays. Now, a couple other cards that need to be mentioned here. Obviously, you're playing Scoop Up Cyclone as your A-spec of choice. Scoop Up Cyclone is great in a deck like this because you've got 340 HP. You are going to be incredibly difficult to go and get a KO on. So, kind of make your opponent work for it. You know that you're going to be in a great position if your opponent can't one-hit KO you. So, by having a way of just picking up your Pokemon and all cards attached to it, you're going to be great. And remember, because Scoop Up Cyclone puts the cards attached to it into your hand, if they're Psychic Energy, they can immediately be reattached with Xatu, and then you draw cards when you attach with Xatu, and oh, look how that happened. Also worth pointing out that Hilda is a very nice card here, because it searches for a Pokemon and an energy. And of course, you really want to be going to search for your Ignition Energy. So essentially what Hilda can do here is immediately search for whatever evolution piece you need to get your Tyranitar rolling, plus an Ignition Energy to immediately get a big smash with it. Not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. This one is tidy. We also have 4 copies of Team Rocket's Patrol here, which is not a card I was necessarily expecting to see, but I mean, look, it searches for a trainer card, and if nothing else, you got stuff like Rare Candy, which is going to be very important to go and search out here, so it's not some kind of big, exciting, fancy card, but it is one that's going to be kind of fun. Here's a deck list as a whole, and I kind of love this. And it's actually a pretty straightforward deck. The goal here is smash with Tyranitar, and the theory is, look, you've got Ignition Energy now, so actually this deck becomes way better. Let's just play around with that, and I gotta be honest with you, it's kind of hard to argue against it. But I've told you about it all now, so now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about all this in the comment section. Get us! Be nice! And of course, please do remember to leave a like and a comment, because the new YouTube algorithm kind of punishes videos that don't get likes and comments. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.